Welcome back to the Grindhouse Podcast. I am your host, Cheese Film.
And I am Hecubus.
And this movie today is another sci-fi movie coming at you. It's another classic sci-fi film. This is by the name of Fantastic Voyage.
From 1966.
Yes, 1966, of The Fantastic Voyage. This movie doesn't really star a whole lot of people I recognize. They recognize one person.
Two. I recognize. You don't recognize Raquel Welch?
Not like I recognized him as somebody I should recognize, you know, because he's the main guy, right?
Raquel is the woman.
Well, then who's the main guy?
Oh, his name is
Because the main guy,
Stephen Boyd, and I don't know who he is.
you don't, because he looked like somebody
He's got
I
classic,
should recognize. You know,
Hollywood looks.
yes.
Yeah. But I don't know who he is.
Donald Pleasance is in this movie.
Yes, Donald Pleasance and Raquel Welch are who I know.
Donald Pleasance is in a lot of, I don't want to just say B horror movies.
No, he's in a lot of movies.
He's in a lot of movies. Recently, I've been watching the movies, and he's just kind of shown up. And they have been, you know, the Amicus production horror movies like that. So he pops up everywhere, and he pops up in this one as he is the biologist kind of guy.
He's the he knows about blood.
Yeah,
he's the vascular guy.
Because this movie, it has a crew of 5 people.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a surgeon, the surgeon's assistant, your muscle man, your captain, and your blood guy.
Right, and he's also the navigator.
And he knows where he's going.
Right.
He's the blood guy. He's the vascular guy because he's navigating through a human body.
Right.
The one of the twists of this movie is it's not an ordinary submarine movie.
Right.
It's a submarine movie, and the fantastic world happens to be the human body.
Yes. It takes place. It's a Cold War movie.
Yeah.
Because it's in 1960s, obviously. And a guy, the United States and the Soviet Union both have shrinking technology. It's top secret, super secret. They could put tanks and stuff into a bottle camp, a whole platoon of people, shrink it down that far. But they can't keep you shrunk for longer than an hour. This guy, this doctor, figured out how to do it.
Permanently.
Right.
Like,
well,
there's no time.
At least
or extended.
Extended time, right. And the Russians, the Ruskies, try to kill him. He's in a coma because he's got a blood clot in his head. And he's where the Fantastic Voyage takes place.
Yes.
It's inside him. The mission is to go shrink down, go in through his neck, go up to his brain, use a laser to clean up the blood clot, and then get out
in 60
minutes.
Or 60 minutes, not
right.
60 seconds. It's a race against the clock type of movie. It's a sci-fi movie, but it's also a pretty good thrilling movie too.
Yeah, it is.
Like I would.
In 60 minutes, they don't die. They grow back to their normal size.
Yes,
so they got to get out of him
before they grow back to their normal size inside him. Which is it's a military movie too.
Yeah,
because it's all secret base and military operations and stuff like that. So it's not a matter of like, are you going to survive? It's a matter of don't be a foreign object in the human body and get out in time before you grow through this man's body.
That's where the stakes are.
Yeah.
They'll kill him.
Scientific stakes.
And if they don't get out in time, his body will start producing antibodies and attack them, and they will die in there.
And so this movie has been not really parodied, but it's referenced in a lot of stuff.
Oh, lots of stuff.
Phineas and Ferb, they have an episode.
Do they?
Very similar to this, where a character's dog eats something it shouldn't, and they're going to shrink down in a submarine, go in there, get it, and get out.
Right. Rick and Morty did it.
Rick and Morty did it most recently.
Anatomy Park.
And there was one other one I was thinking about that did something like this too. But it's cool.
Well, Inner Space is basically a revamped version of this movie.
Yeah. And for being a movie in the 60s, it's, I think, shot really well for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's
And
perfect.
the effects, although haven't aged great,
No, but
they do stand out.
they do stand up, and they look. It looks really good.
It does.
It does look really good. Here's the thing: up until like the late '80s, medical schools would show this movie as concepts of what they're talking about to teach future doctors.
And it's cool because this movie both opens and closes with a little note about how this isn't how our technology is now, but
Right.
very possible in the very near future, this is how it's going to go.
It ain't gonna go.
It ain't going to go like that at all. But this is a science movie.
Yeah, it's a hard sci-fi
It
movie.
is. Like
Because there's an
no-
adventure movie too, but the science is
the first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like it's right there. There
Right.
is no getting around it. They took it very seriously. They consulted a team of
yep.
doctors and surgeons to get a lot of the stuff right,
Right.
because they just cared that much about it. Like there's not
Mhm.
really a whole like precedent set here. Like there wasn't
Yeah, it
like
was
they're
the
trying
first
to do
one.
this to outdo something else. They really came in at full throttle.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool idea.
And there's a line in the movie where Carl Waltz says that how they're seeing this stuff for the very first time. They're the first humans to ever see anything like this.
Yeah.
And so was the audience, because nothing like this has ever been on in a movie before. And it's really cool. The movie, it's like you said before, it's a good movie. It's just a good
it stands
movie.
up on its own.
The adventure part of it. I mean, it's the story's obviously it's fantastic with the shrinking down,
Yeah.
but when they take it all seriously,
And
it's not ridiculous.
it's a good play on like man versus nature.
Sure.
Like Jurassic Park is too,
Mhm.
like how
Right.
Micro is, and all that kind of stuff. The Incredible Shrinking Man,
Yep.
that take nature and twist it in a way that we haven't seen it before.
Right.
I think this is right on par with those.
The only difference is those are all like Frankenstein is a morality tale where
Yeah.
you can't really mess with this, and they don't try to play God in it or anything.
No,
It's just the technology is the good guy in this movie.
And I like that there's no moral of the story here.
No.
They are scientists who perform a scientific procedure, and that's it. That's all this movie is.
Yep.
And it's scientists on a journey.
Yep.
Because, I mean, at its bare bones, it's a medical movie.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't stray really far from that. Like you said, like the fantastic elements are red and white blood cells
Yep.
traveling through the heart, getting into the brain and
Yep,
stuff like that.
all
There's
that.
no like, oh, it's an alien from a different world or some. It's strictly coded in science.
Yep.
If this was a possible thing to do, this is how it would be.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what the motive behind this
You're
movie
right.
was.
Yeah.
Was how, like, why don't we try to invent the new form of science?
Mhm.
Because I'm sure shrinking stories and shrinking technology in stories were
Right.
around this time too. I mean, like The Fly and stuff like that did
Sure.
like transporting. Like
Right.
shrinking is right the next step. So, and it's one of those staples of science fiction.
It
So to
is.
have a movie where you shrink down, and to just play it as if it was a documentary,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. And all
it's
of
bold.
the threats are plausible
Yeah.
with the body attacking them, or there was takes a left-hand turn early on when they're in his neck, and they didn't know about a little tiny fissure in between
Yeah.
his vein and his artery, and they end up getting sucked into the wrong place, and everything is a ticking time.
Yeah,
They got an hour, man. That's it. And so everything that hinders that is a real attention builder. It's good.
it really is, and it's done really well.
Sure is.
So like when the first thing that goes wrong happens in the fissure, they're like, well, we either pull out now or we try to go through the heart.
Right.
We've already discussed that going through the heart is basically a death sentence because it's so powerful at that scale. It'll rip them on.
Yeah, when they're going through that whirlpool fissure thing, you can see that the G forces are affecting them.
Yeah, they start almost like sliding all over the place.
Right, and and that's nothing compared to when they get into the heart.
Yeah.
So they got to kill the guy, stop his heart so they can get through there.
Because they don't want to pull out yet.
Yeah, they
They're
can't.
so committed to it.
Yeah,
it's not
I was
an
going to
option.
say that earlier. Everyone is, except for Donald Pleasance is always like, oh, forget it, let's give up.
Yeah, he's scared.
Because he's the foil.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks this is one doctor who's very stuck on himself, but he is like, we're not leaving. We got to save this guy. He's a doctor. And the other Donald Pleasance plays is the only reason, what's his name again? Stephen Boyd is on there is to find out who the mole is.
Right.
And they all think it's this one doctor, and it's really Donald Pleasance.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be the captain.
Oh,
because everything he said, well, it felt early on that they were trying to set it up to be him.
I think they try to move it around a lot to keep you guessing.
Because he, like, very early on, he's like, well, if this happens, we're going to lose this. And it does.
And that does happen.
But, or like...
their jets get clogged, that's what happens.
The jets get clogged, they'll start losing air.
Yep.
But everybody else is right here. He's the only one separated from them all. So it could be him.
Right.
He even says, like, everybody else should go outside. I'll stay in here. It all seems like it should be him.
Yep.
But then as it goes on, it seems like it could be somebody else.
Right.
And then once you get to the end, you're like, well, yeah, no, he's a pilot.
Yeah, he's
not
just
wrong.
He's being a professional. That's
yes,
all.
He was very. If we go through, because they're like tendrils, or something. I don't even know.
Yeah, he says if we go through there, they could clog up the jets, and
they
that's
100% do. Yeah, it's clever that way because they put that smoking bomb in your hand. Like there's something afoot.
Mm-hmm.
There could be somebody in there that's trying to make sure we don't get the information we want. So keep an eye out, and then all this stuff starts happening, and you're like, okay, well, this is it. It's him. No, it's him. Kind of like the Cold War was.
Yeah.
Where everybody was pointing to your neighbor, like, oh, no, it's him. It's him. It's her. And in all reality, it was a guy you weren't expecting.
Right. You're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you got if we don't get out of here in time, the body will attack us.
Yep.
If we don't get out of here in time, we'll grow and kill the guy. Him. One of them is a saboteur, but the way it's written, it's not too much.
No,
they're not throwing everything. You know what I'm talking about? They sometimes these subplots they just don't work out.
Yeah.
Then all of these work out, and it's all neatly bundled at the end.
And it's not like they're throwing because you've got the body coming at you, you've got the time thing, and you've got a mystery saboteur.
Right.
This could overcrowd the story.
And it does not.
It doesn't. It definitely propels the story very well. And it's almost not noticeable in a way.
It all flows very well.
Yeah.
Every piece of it does.
You don't have to try to pay attention to it. It's not hard to pay attention to. Like I know a lot of modern movies, they throw a lot of plots into it, a lot of subplots. That sometimes don't go anywhere, sometimes overcrowd it, and you're always like, oh yeah, well here's this one, this is what we got to do next. It's all over the place, and this is a movie that could have been like that.
Yep. Well, they didn't really write stuff like video games back then because they weren't video games back then.
No, but I mean,
but it's not like that. You got to go here to do this, and then here to do this. That kind of video game is what I'm talking about.
But it could have.
It all, it could have.
This could have easily been that way.
They were they did a good job writing this movie.
Yeah. There's no MacGuffins. There's no none of that.
Yeah, there's no MacGuffins.
All straightforward.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's kind of refreshing to watch a science fiction movie where science is the forefront.
Right.
We've kind of lucked out on a lot of the sci-fi movies we picked for this because science is taken seriously in these science fiction movies.
The Wasp Woman's a science fiction movie.
For those at home who might not know what MacGuffin is, what is a MacGuffin?
You mean you, Randy Official?
So a MacGuffin is...
How about if we said mystery box?
Yeah. It's an object that drives a plot in a way that it doesn't mean anything.
Like the Falcon and the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's not that important. Everything happens around it.
Okay.
And usually it's a red herring.
Yeah.
Is that a red herring okay for you, Randy official?
What's a fish?
What was I going to say? Oh, and it's not, sometimes it gets annoying when movies like, you've got to do these things, and then there's so many things in the way. Sometimes it gets to be too many things in the way.
Yeah, there's too many
But these are all so plausible.
Yeah.
They're on their way here, and this is what happens on the way there. And it works out. This is a good movie.
It's a great movie.
It is.
And
I didn't want to watch it because you had brought it up a few times because you owned it.
Yeah.
On Blu-ray. And I was always like, all right, whatever. And then you put it on the big board now. So we had to do it. And I'm glad you did. It's a good time.
Yeah. This one, I've been told by quite a many people that I should check it out.
Yeah.
And I was like,
they were right.
Why not?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen it before. Which I like watching these classics as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because I feel like I can get it. Like
Yeah.
I feel like if I was a kid, I'd find this
you.
movie to be boring and like
You
know what I mean?
If I had said to you, we're going to watch this Fantastic Voyage from 1966 when you were 7 or 8 or that's how old I was when I saw it, you'd been like, oh, man, come on. But then you would have sat there and watched the whole thing just like me because it's riveting. And
it's riveting, and it's riveting the entire time.
It is.
It's not boring. And you know what? It's something I have to give this movie credit for because it doesn't do what I thought it was going to do. So you've got a military doctor and a military general who are like your top dogs right now.
Yep.
And then everybody's like underneath them. The military doctor guy tells the military general, no, we're not going to do it that way. He's leading this. We're going to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and she's going to be my assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, I don't like it, but it's your call.
Right.
He's not an active combatant. And it could have been so easy to make either him the bad guy or have him be another threat to the plot. And he's not.
They do not take the easy way out of any of this stuff.
They were going to kill the guy because they were out of time.
Yep.
And he's like, no, don't kill him yet. If this might be the ship is down and they're trying to get out. Where would they get out? The nearest place. Where's the nearest place? The tear duct. And he looks. And he finds them.
There they are, yep.
And they get them out that way. I was so impressed with the fact that the military general, he's one of those like, no, I've got the rank, kind of talking guy that you would assume he's going to be Mr. Big Boss.
I think that's a trope that kind of came after this movie.
After this.
And so you'd be more exposed to that than
it's
people
so
who
refreshing.
act like professionals and give a crap about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they don't want to fail.
It felt like such a team effort the entire time.
It
No
does.
part was too small.
And it's really because Donald Pleasance is there to make sure that the mission fails.
Right.
But even he's like, well, we can do this.
Yeah.
And their ingenuity. That's what I really love about like submarine movies and stuff like that is when they got to figure out what they have to do.
Yeah, and it's so it almost felt like an Apollo movie, like you're watching a space movie and you're in mission control for part of it, and then you get to see and like there's nobody against another person.
Yeah,
like, we're all
they're
here
all
for the
working
success
together.
of the thing.
Like we keep talking about Donald Pleasance as the foil. And he sabotages their laser. So now it doesn't matter if they get there or not.
Yeah, they can't do anything about it.
Well, what are we going to do? We're going to cannibalize the
communication.
They use Morse code and wireless to communicate with the large world. He's like, well, here's one. You can use this. And like, well, then we won't be able to communicate with them. So they use it to fix the machine, the laser. And the bigger guys, the general and the doctor guy, military doctor guy, he's like, well, this is what I would do. I would go to the ear. And it's nuclear powered.
Yeah, so they can track them.
They are tracking them. And they're like, well, what I would do was go to the ear. That's where they're going, and that is where they go.
And even better, and like it's just so cool, is that they're like, all right, well, this is what we can use to fix the laser gun. they tell them they're going to do it, and then that they won't be able to communicate with them anymore. Everything is so. It's unreal. It's not like anything you've seen before in a movie.
It's
Like
great.
it's so refreshing that everybody is not stupid.
Yes.
Everybody's doing their job right. Everybody's working as a team. This movie's an hour and 40 minutes long, and this mission is so important. They get right to it in the first 15 minutes, and when they're done,
the movie's
that's
over.
where it ends. You don't even go back to the guy.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't wake up and he's like, "Oh,
Nope.
I've got something to tell you."
Nope.
We never go back to him. They take him out. They put him on the thing. They start growing. Everybody cheers and claps.
Yeah.
Don't even address the dead guy. Don't even address because Donald.
No, he's not.
He
Donald
didn't make it
Sutherland.
out.
Yeah. They don't ask why. Nothing like that.
They say, they're glad that these guys did.
Yeah.
That's so refreshing. I love that.
You know what else? That they grow 60 minutes after they shrink.
Yeah.
It's 60 minutes of the movie they are shrunk, and when they come back, it's 60 minutes later.
Yeah.
Another thing, there's no music in it until they get into the body. The adventure part.
It's
they use the tonalities, and they even reference they did it on purpose, like Forbidden Planet, for the opening titles and stuff like that. And there's no music on purpose until they're inside the body,
and it's all.
It's great.
I would
music
say mystical
really
or like
otherworldly.
Otherworldly. It's very otherworldly, and it's cool that they do that because when you're in there, it's not like anything we've seen before.
Yeah,
and it's a whole new world for humanity to explore. It's a smart technique to do.
Yeah.
To do it that way. Another thing I want to kind of talk about are the effects in this movie.
Oh, good, because I was going to talk about that next.
They're 60s, 70s effects.
Sure. They're good 60s, 70s effects,
and they stand up. So like when we were talking about like Barbarella and how like they'd have the glowing ball here and there and stuff like that. That's how they present like the white blood cells and not the white blood cells, the red blood cells and plasma and stuff like that with coloring and cell shading and when framed cells and rotoscoping over it. And I think for the most part, when you have a wide shot of the submarine going through the veins, it looks great.
Yeah, it does.
I think it looks fantastic.
It really does.
It's only really kind of like iffy when you're inside there and you've got a person and it's obviously
you could tell there's
green.
matte lines there.
Yeah, there's hard lines. There's sometimes the face gets cut off and stuff like
that.
That.
Yeah, the captain's head gets cut off part of one.
Or when they first get shrunk down and the scientist is guiding the forklift. And then you see his face through it. A, that's a cool shot.
It is a cool shot.
But B, you can definitely tell that's a shot composition.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than that, like the white blood cells being practical like that's a great idea. All of the actual sets, like the membrane of the cells, the lungs, that huge lung room, the heart. I think the heart might have even been a painting or a photo, except for the valve that opens and closes, which is really cool.
But it was all filmed on a set because they go outside of it's called the Proteus, and that set they built a mock-up, the big one, and everything that's inside of it they shot inside that thing. They only made two things: the big one and a little tiny one when they shoot them in. But so they made it so that they could take parts of the walls off to put the cameras in.
Yep.
And that's their set. That's it. And then when they go outside of it, it's a sound stage, and they're on wires.
Yeah.
And they filmed it faster, so it would look like they're moving through something.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's the air. But they were afraid that the wires would reflect on it, so they burned them with acid to take any luster off of them, which weakened them. So while they're floating around like that on wires, they could have easily plummeted down. Yeah. The special effects in this are very good. They won 2 Academy Awards for special effects.
Well, good, because
it deserves it.
It deserves it.
And like the main guy that did the special effects, my phone turned off. He also worked on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah.
And the guy that designed the Nautilus designed the Proteus.
I also like how they didn't just use a giant red film for blood. They
No,
made
because it wouldn't be red. It's
Well-
they say that in things like I thought it would be red. He's like, well, to the naked eye it would be red, but inside it's the red blood cells. Red blood cells are what makes it red. So when there's a red blood cell that's this big,
yeah,
the rest
that's
of the
red.
stuff is just clear.
Yeah, they
like
said it's the
seawater, they
seawater.
say.
They kept saying
Yeah.
it's cloudy. It's because it could have been. Would have been very easy and very cheap just to put a big red filter over everything. They
But
don't
it would have been
do
stupid.
that. It
'Cause
would have
that's
been
not
stupid.
how it would go.
And it's, man, I want to call it brave and like what's the word?
You can't say brave because this movie, they were like see, I was gonna do it. Forbidden Planet was the other big sci-fi movie, and that was 10, 20 years before this.
Yeah,
And the producer said, this is going to be the most expensive science fiction movie ever made. And it was at the time.
yeah. And then along came other movies.
Yeah.
that
It didn't cost $1 billion
swiftly got that.
adjusted for inflation, that's for sure.
It's innovative.
It is.
It's something to really like be impressed with. Kind of like how in Citizen Kane, the camera moves, and that's taking everything to the next step.
Yeah. Or the low angle
Yeah,
where they had to dig a hole.
and cutting holes in floors.
Yeah.
Get this 150-pound camera to get the
it's
right
hard
shot.
to move. Yeah,
'Cause
right.
it was on a tripod, and that is where it stood.
Yeah.
Oh my god, old cinematography is so fun. And then Orson Welles changed it
Yeah, he did.
forever. Everything you see now
You're
is
ruining
because
it
of
for next week.
it's not next week. We'll talk about that. We'll talk
Oh,
about
it's
that.
not next week? Okay.
No. But we will address Citizen Kane. But back to this because it is a marvel in special effects and in
Mhm.
editing. I think
Yeah.
really well. Like if you want to be an editor or if you want to learn special effects, this is a great movie to watch the commentary with,
Yeah.
to
definitely.
study, to watch, to just envelop yourself with because it is a masterclass in that.
Mhm.
And especially for being a movie from the 60s,
Yeah.
it is impressive to say the least.
I always thought it was impressive, but it's good to see like that you think it's impressive
Yeah.
because you've seen Jurassic Park came out and another 20 years after this, and it's it's a whole different sport. Ain't
It
even a
really-
different ball game. It's a whole different sport.
I'm trying to think of like a sci-fi movie that came out recently in today's age. And I mean, other than the fact that you can tell, like, there's movies that you can tell are shot from the 60s.
Yeah.
This is one of them. So I wouldn't say you can put it up there with the new Jurassic Park,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you would have just as much of an experience with this as you would with the new Jurassic Park.
Sure. And I think Star Wars, it wasn't until Star Wars came out that they could really do all that stuff because that's where they invented that whole motion capture stuff.
Yep.
Not motion capture, where the camera moves in the same way every time the computer generate or controlled. And they didn't have that then. So, like, there's not a lot of, I don't think there's any tracking shots where, they're on a dolly or anything. The
Not
ship
in this.
moves through the thing, but the camera doesn't move around a lot.
Yeah, the ship moves through frame just
Right.
like that. Which, man, again, like I don't want to.
And that's how you can tell it's from the 60s. Because
Yeah.
there's no, it's not that flashy.
well
That style with the
Yeah.
camera moving.
with that and the color grading and the
Yeah, it's very vibrant.
like depth of field, like everything's kind of
Yeah.
in focus. It's
Yeah.
not, advanced,
Mhm.
in its
Right.
in its filmmaking, but it's
Well,
advanced in other ways.
It's in CinemaScope, so they probably couldn't do
probably didn't want to.
a lot of depth
Yeah.
of field because of
That was a conscious choice. They
Yeah,
said, we're
it
going to
was.
film it like this, and we're going to want it all there,
hmm
because it's elevating.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great when it's taken this seriously, and I like it. I liked
Yeah.
it a lot.
Now, let me tell you a couple other things. When the part where they go to the ear, we were talking about that, and the guy's like, if inside the Proteus, they're like, if there's any noise, we're gonna be shaken to death.
Yeah,
And I think they'll realize that because this is after they cannibalize the wireless.
Yes.
The guy says, we got to be absolutely quiet. Then he tells the people, don't move, nothing. And the doctor starts sweating. And a nurse is going to give him something to wipe his head off with. And she drops scissors on the floor. And they're all going crazy. And it's reverberating in the ear. It's well done. And they're like, oh, man.
I thought that was really funny. Cause
I love that. That's the biggest part I remembered from watching when I was a kid was that one part where I'm like, oh, no.
Well, in the macro world, they enhance the audio for it, so it sounds really loud. Yeah. So when you go into the micro world, it's just like, and it's shaking again.
Yeah. But that's when Raquel Welch gets flung through someplace to the inner ear, and these corpuscles are gonna eat her basically because that's what happens to Donald Pleasance. He gets eaten, and the ship. So she's got these things all over
all
her.
The white blood cells,
and it's like choking her, and the director was like, "Okay, you guys got to get him off of her," and it's desperate. They did. It was obvious they were trying to avoid her boobs, and he's like, "All right, look, you can't do it like that." So I mean, she's not groped or anything, but they had to make a conscious effort to make it look real, like they're trying to save her life.
Not
feel her up.
Fake. I think it was also kind of a clever thing too, because when she's in the liquid and they're draining it, and it's tense because it has to drain.
It has to.
And they pull her out, and the residual water or plasma stuff spills out too, and they're pulling on it, and they're yanking on that hard until it starts oxidizing.
Yeah.
And it crystals.
Yeah.
And,
it's
just
stuck
fragile.
onto her. It's around her neck, everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty. You think she's going to die.
I thought she was. And I point this out because there's a little situational humor I find in this movie. Like the dropping the scissors. I think that's situationally funny. When she's dying and the first guy is able to pull off the stuff and he crumbles in his hand. And
they're looking at it instead of helping her.
They take a minute to pause. She's still dying.
Look at this.
It crystallized. And then they go back to it, and each one of them does it. They each do it.
Yeah.
I think that's situationally funny. But this movie had a massive impact on sci-fi and in the world. Because I know it had a massive impact on people like Michael Crichton with his book Micro, because it's the same, like it's a scientific thing shrinking people down.
He's a good science fiction
great sci-fi writer. I love his writing.
I'm just talking about his movies, like Westworld. He directed Westworld and wrote it. What's that other one? The Andromeda Strain. That's pretty good too.
I can't wait to watch that. I want to read the book first, though.
It's not. It's only that thick. It's real. You can do it in a day.
Oh, nice.
And that's another thing where you don't think about. I won't ruin it for you, but it's it makes sense scientifically, and it could plausibly happen. The Andromeda Strain,
and it's good. It's good sci-fi. I like that.
It is.
I think that's the biggest difference between a movie like this and a movie like Star Wars.
Star Wars is like fantasy.
It's a fantasy. It's a sci-fi fantasy movie. This is a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that's the biggest, like with Star Trek and Star Wars feuds. Like Star Trek isn't as fantastical as Star Wars is.
Right.
It's also a completely different.
It's
not
totally different.
Star Wars either.
I like them both, so it's completely different.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is a must watch. I think this is a great movie.
It is a must watch.
This is up there.
It's not streaming anywhere free right now. I had to rent it on Amazon.
Okay,
but it was only $4.
Amazon's got some good renting prices. I know.
Yeah, they do. I think it depends on how new it is. Because Longlegs is $20, and I'm not spending $20 to watch it.
It's on my Vudu. You can watch it now.
It is.
I own it.
No kidding.
I haven't seen it yet.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Well, I bought it to watch it with Courtney, who wanted to see it. We didn't get a chance to see it in the movie theater. So when it was out on Vudu, I purchased it.
Oh,
I was like, yeah, I'm going to get that.
I know what I'm doing Monday.
Yeah, go ahead, because I've only heard good things about it.
Me too. And then somebody was saying something bad about it. I'm like, I'm not even going to pay attention to this. One, I don't want it spoiled.
Right.
And two, the other people that I see doing reviews about it and stuff, I trust them more.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people do reviews, negative stuff.
Just to be negative.
Yeah, and it gets more traction
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, we can't do that.
No,
We're
we
going
like
to be
movies too
honest
much.
about
Yeah.
ours. Because I didn't like Count Dracula,
Nope.
but this is about liking movies, not disliking movies, not hate.
Yeah, this is about even finding little things in a bad movie to enjoy.
Yeah, even that, like the Wasp Woman.
Yeah.
But this one is got
This
to be
one's
a
just
hidden
a
gem
cult
for you.
classic.
Like,
Yeah, this is great. I loved this. This is a movie I really hope they remake.
I was going to talk about that too.
Because
And they could totally, when they beef up the special effects for this, it'll just be more believable.
make
Except
this
for the
movie-
shrinking part, but inside the body stuff,
Oh my god.
forget about it.
So Disney owns Fox now,
Right?
and Disney, because this is a Fox movie.
It is. That was MGM. Anyway,
Disney's dabbled in stuff like this,
yeah,
like the Black Hole. That's a
Mhm.
sci-fi movie too.
yeah.
So there's no reason why they wouldn't have any kind of issue making this.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't say this often, but I kind of would like it to be a shot-for-shot remake
Shot
some-
for shot.
upgraded graphics
Yeah.
and some, I guess, upgraded actors, because everything about this, I think you should just keep it the same and just update the way it looks.
Right? Because there's no Soviet Union anymore,
Right.
but you could, like China, they could be doing this technology.
Russia could still be doing it.
Russia could still
You know,
be
like,
doing
if
it. So
it's-
yeah, you just take the script and do it again.
And modernize it. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all you got to do. Keep everything, the tone, how serious it is, keep it all the same.
Yeah.
Don't make it a goofy movie.
We're talking about
Or
people
over
shrinking
dramatic.
down, going into a guy's body, blowing up a blood clot or whatever in his brain, and getting out through their tear duct.
Yeah.
And the most unbelievable part to me, this guy, they have a coffee pot there, and one of the generals is drinking the coffee, and they're out of sugar. And he's going to squish an ant. That ant would not be in that building.
No. It's
There's
way
no
too
way in
secured.
hell. And like they go into, they've got the claw thing that they're going to pick the Proteus up with.
Yeah.
They would be covered in stuff because their hair's not covered
Yeah.
when they're bringing it in. All that stuff, it would be sterile as sterile could be.
I probably
An
wouldn't
ant would not be in there, and you're not going to see anybody's haircut.
Nope. And you probably wouldn't be using that type of forklift either, with the emissions it gives off, because it's a gas-powered.
Well, I don't think so. The guy's pushing it.
I thought it was making a noise. Anyway.
Well, it probably was making a noise with the wheels and stuff, but or the hydraulics, but those were the unbelievable parts
Yeah.
to me. An ant being in there, them having a coffee pot like that. This kind of stuff. That's the unbelievable part.
Yeah.
And they do that ant is on purpose because he's going to squish it, and he thinks twice. The guy's like, "Ah, you're going to be a Buddhist now, or a Hindu, something one of those two."
The thing I found to be a little too much is when he does look into the giant
Yeah,
magnifying glass, and he sees him on the eyeball,
Yeah.
and it's like
it's like a
waterfall. Yeah, it's too
like they're on the
watery.
beach.
Yeah.
It is a little too watery.
I could understand like if they were like trudging through like eye mucus.
Yeah,
you
stuff
know, but,
because
like,
that's where
there's
they are.
It's like waves crashing on
It
something.
is. It's like it's like they're on the beach. And,
Yes.
Yeah, it's like waves, and that is a little too much too.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, everything else about this is great, and I like how alien it looked
Yeah.
for being in a human.
Yeah,
body.
and
It's
but
such
it's
a
inside
smart
human body.
idea.
Yeah, it was great.
Because not even the red blood cells look like red blood cells.
Yeah. Well, they
just-
look like cells that are red.
But yeah, but like when you pick up your science book, like they have a very distinct
Yeah.
donut-looking shape.
Yeah. Right.
They don't look like that.
Yeah.
They look alien. Everything looks alien.
Everything does.
The white blood cells look alien. The brain looks alien. The
Yeah.
inside of the lungs.
I love the brain too when they're in the brain and you see these little flashes of electricity, like the
Yeah.
synapses.
That's so smart.
It's very clever. And the thing that eats Donald Pleasance, they did put some of those flashes in there just to make it look a little better.
Yeah. But it's such a masterclass.
It is. And you know what? In 1966, and I don't know, because the Blob came out in the 50s too, but the thing comes down on his head,
Yeah.
like in the new King Kong, where that thing comes down, and it's harrowing. And he's like, "Please get me out of here," and that's it.
Ugh. What a horrible way to go.
Yeah, really.
What about you, Randy? What did you think of the movie?
Randy Official.
Randy Official. Trust Fall. He's the lead drummer of the Trust Fall.
The lead drummer. Does it sound like something you'd like to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually
Or-
does sound cool.
This concept, are you familiar with this concept? Have you seen it in other
I mean, I
animes or manga?
got both the references that you guys gave, but no, this one and one of the vampire movies I did wish I kind of watched.
Hey, you still can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you really can.
because it does sound cool, and I really do like specifically that King Kong scene with the giant worm. That
That eats his head.
it's crazy.
Circus.
Yeah.
And
I think it's Andy Circus.
I don't know. I
I
like.
think that was Andy Circus.
That gets eaten. I think it is too.
I think it is.
And that whole scene was originally in King Kong, but they cut it out, and then Peter Jackson put that stuff back in.
Good.
Yeah.
Movie is 3 hours long.
That movie is 2 hours. Could be 2 hours longer.
I
love that movie.
disagree.
It's good. Yeah, I disagree too, because that the beginning is a little too much character development on that boat.
I love it. I don't know. I've got such a soft spot for
I
it.
don't
I
have a problem with
understand
long
everybody's
Yeah,
problems with it, but man, do I have a soft spot for it.
it's
It
good.
might have been one of those movies that was stuck on my DVD player, so I just kept watching it.
Oh, that's
That as a kid, I used to watch King Kong to bed every night, but it was a movie long enough to fall
And
asleep
that
to.
King Kong looks so good.
it does.
Wait,
When they're
2006.
ice skating and stuff.
Oh, my
and,
God.
I love too when go see Fantastic Voyage, but he's looking for Ray, and he's just picking up blonde women and then throwing them over his
Yeah.
shoulder.
So good.
It's great.
I love movies. What sci-fi movies?
so
Me too. 2 thumbs up, Randy Official.
Boom.
heck yeah.
Official Grindhouse 2.
Two thumbs
up. Yeah, check it out because it's really worth the watch.
It is, and you buy it if you can. I think it's
Yeah.
worth. You could watch it again easily.
I-
It's rewatchable.
And I can't.
Out of the sci-fi movies you guys watched already, which one is like this one up there? Is this one the top 5?
Number
is this
2 for me.
one
Number 2 for sure.
I don't remember the site. Well, like Planet of the Apes, we talked about that.
The
Star Wars
Fly.
stuff. I don't know, but it's good.
Yeah. But I mean,
It's good, and you probably haven't seen it, and you're going to see something you've never seen before, and
Yes.
told in a way that you don't really get to see anymore.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It's nice and fresh for being a movie from the 60s.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up because next week we are going to do a season 2 finale.
Okay.
This was originally supposed to be like the finale, a nice big.
Oh, that's a good one to
Sci-fi
end it on.
It was, but I got this idea from a buddy of mine, who said you should do like a ranking video.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So next week we're gonna take a look at all of the movies from this season, from season
Okay.
2, starting with I believe Spaceballs
Okay.
up to Fantastic Voyage, and
Do it again.
I almost did it. Yeah, we should just do Fantastic Planet too.
I don't like it.
But we'll take them all, we'll rank them up, and we'll have a nice little spectacular there to,
Yeah, that's
to
a
end
good
out
idea.
season 2.
You should pay that friend. That's a good idea.
Well, if that friend got more people to watch this, so that
Yeah,
we
or
can
if,
get
or if that friend
sponsors
watched
and
it
stuff.
himself.
Whatever.
All right,
But
so
also,
go ahead.
No,
No, I
Well-
was wrapping things up. You
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna bring up the fact that you've got that really nice Grindhouse shirt on.
That's right.
It's a nice shirt you got there.
And this is September, so everybody's going back to school.
Yeah,
Be the coolest kid in your class.
it's the coolest kid in your class. The Grindhouse shirt. Randy's got a Grindhouse
Hoodie.
hoodie. We got hats. stickers.
Compliments. Got big compliments on the hoodie.
Oh, did you?
It is very comfortable.
It's so nice. We got hats, stickers,
Yeah,
magnets,
these are good quality
mugs.
clothes.
Yeah, so we've got it all. So check out the link at the grindhousepodcast.com. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, literally everywhere you get your podcast from. We're everywhere, and we want to be everywhere. Join the conversation. Hit that like button. Share this video with your best friend or your worst enemy. Leave a comment, and tune in next week on the Grindhouse Podcast. I have been Cheese Film.
And I am Hecubus.
Thank you so much. Cheese Film out.